A mystery stone jars in Laos. What is it makes for? When was it made? Today, I will take you to see the amazing 2500 years of stone jars in Shenking province. From here to the jar's side is 500 meters. I come here. Here is the place to sell the tickets before see the stone jar. And now, we are on the electric bus to the jar's side. Now, we are on the jar's side. "2,500 years old stone jars used in burial ceremonies scattered across the field. The plain of jars is a group of fields containing thousands of stone jars cut out from rock thousands of years ago. The sites are located around the city of Phonsavan in Sangkaoang province, northeast Laos. While some of the sites contain just a few jars, others contain hundreds, many of which are broken or have fallen over. In 2019, the plain of jars have been submitted to the tentative list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The history of the stone jars is shrouded in mystery. The jars are believed to be about 2,500 years old. They come in varying sizes up to 3 meters high, weighing up to several tons. Most of them were sculpted from sandstone rock. According to local legend, the hundreds of gigantic stone vessels that stretch across the Sangkaoang plateau of Phonsavan, Laos, are simply ancient mugs crafted by a tribe of giants to brew and store rice wine after battle. Another tale has it that they were simply hydration stations for thirsty traveling merchants. Archaeologists have a more macabre theory about the jars, that they were used to hold dead bodies before burial. New finds suggest a practice may have been more widespread than previously thought. A team of archaeologists from the Australian National University, along with Lao government officials, uncovered 15 previously undocumented sites containing more than 100 stone jars, dating back some 1,000 years. They were found in a mountainous forest region of central Laos during a survey by Australian National University. During the 1930s, French archaeologist Madeleine Colony was one of the first researchers to study the jars and survey the region. She discovered a few containing human ashes and a nearby cave filled with human bones. Colony presumed that the deceased bodies were held in the jars temporarily, after which the bones were buried. Very little additional research was conducted in the ensuing years because of war, which left undetonated ordnance scattered across the region. In the past decade, many of these old bombs have been removed, allowing researchers fresh access. New research will continue to elucidate the purpose of the jars, but the society. Researchers now believe this civilization was widely distributed, but little is known about who they were and how and why these sites were created. Archaeologists from Australian National University believe that the megaliths were quarried nearby and moved to their present locations. But why these sites were chosen as the final resting place for the jars is still a mystery. Several theories and legends exist about the purpose of the jars. Local legend tells that they were made by a race of giants to use as cups to drink rice wine. Another story tells the jars were used to store water for the dry season. Or a king had the jars made to store rice wine after a military victory. As remains of human skeletons were found inside the jars, it is now believed they were used as urns in burial. Signs of the secret war are clearly visible at several of the sites, in the form of bomb craters and damaged jars. During the Vietnam War, enormous quantities of bombs were dropped on Laos, many of which failed to explode. Although clearing works of unexplored bombs have been carried out at the most visited sites, it is strongly recommended to stay with. The local people call these stone jars as Hai Hin. In Laos, there are many sites of stone jars. Thong Hai Hin, which translates to stone jar plain, is one of the largest sites with over 300 jars. The site, also known as Site 1, is located about 15 kilometers southwest of Phon Savan. The large area surrounded by a fence is adjacent to a Laos Army military base. Now, let's go to see around the sites one of the stone jar. As you see here, the stone jars was put here since 2500 years ago. We will go down there to see the many jars. Many bomb craters surround the jars. Beautiful place. See here, many stone jars surround. It's amazing place. Local legend tells that people make this jars store rice wine after a military victory. Lao legends tell of a race of giants who inhabited the area and who were ruled by a king named Kun Chun, who fought a long and ultimately victorious battle against an enemy. He supposedly created the jars to brew and store huge amounts of Lao Hai means jar of alcohol, so Lao Hai means rice beer or rice wine in the jars to celebrate his victory. Another local story states that the jars were molded from natural materials including clay, sand, sugar, and animal products in a type of stone mix. This led the locals to believe the cave at Site 1 was actually a kiln, and that the jars were fired there and are not actually hewn from stone. Between 1964 and 1973, the plain of jars was heavily bombed by the US Air Force, operating against North Vietnamese and Pathet Lao Communist forces. The US Air Force dropped more bombs on Laos, primarily the plain of jars, than it dropped during the whole of World War II. This included 262 million anti-personnel cluster bombs. An estimated 80 million of these did not explode and the large quantity of unexploded bombs in the area, especially cluster munitions, limits free movement. Evidence of the bombing raids can be seen in the form of broken or displaced jars and bomb craters. Sightseeing on the plain of jars can only be done safely on cleared and marked pathways. The Mines Advisory Group, a non-governmental organization, in collaboration with UNESCO and funded by the New Zealand government, cleared unexploded bombs from the 3 most visited sites from July 2004 until July 2005. A second phase of bomb clearance at the sites, also funded by New Zealand government, was undertaken in 2007. 4 more jar sites were made safe. So now just go with me to see the cave in the plain of jars sites 1. Inside the cave, there is 2 holes above the cave, for the legends say that the people in the past 2500 years ago used this cave to make fire, then used the stone jars to steam wine and foods. There are many tourists here too.